is different.
In a city of glass, windows need to be installed no matter the heat.
I'm replacing windows 20 floors up right now.
What is that like in the heat?
It's no fun. You're just, even in the times you're standing there, you're still just dripping sweat.
Misting stations help.
That's nice.
Signs of a city and a province adapting. There is increased awareness here. Heat can kill. More than 600 people died in last year's heat dome. This week's heat wave is not expected to be as intense, but it is expected to persist through early next week.
Day over day and night after night, we're building temperatures under this essentially cloudless sky for most of BC, the whole southern 2/3 essentially.
In Vancouver, that heat is trapping ozone and reducing air quality. Most here don't have air conditioning. Cracking a window only does so much.
It's pretty crazy. It is very hot. Like even if you open all the windows, and I do have a lot of windows, it is just too hot.
And it's even hotter to the west. Parts of the interior could reach 40 degrees.
Stay hydrated.
Thank you so much.
Volunteer efforts have urgency.
What's your worst fear?
Worst fear? People dying because of the heat, and we didn't reach them.
Everyone is being asked to check on the vulnerable, older people, those living alone. BC, it seems, can no longer bask in the sunshine without acknowledging the danger. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
And to help with these temperatures, cities everywhere have opened up cooling centers. This is one in Burnaby at the Eileen Daly Community Centre near Wellington and Hastings. It will run from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily until extreme heat warnings end. All Burnaby cooling centers will be equipped with seating, drinking water, washrooms, and free public Wi-Fi. And if you live in Maple Ridge, a shuttle bus is available to transport people to the facilities. To find a cooling spot near you, a list of centres and misting stations is available on Emergency Info BC's website, with plenty of community centres and libraries also opening their doors for anyone needing air conditioning. While it's still considered out of control, crews are making progress on the Nahomin Creek wildfire northwest of Lytton. They shared this message from the front lines.
The crew is going hard each and every day with all the challenges, the heat, the terrain. It makes a big challenge for the crew. And we are making progress, but it is slow, but we're doing it safely.
These aerial shots are from Monday, but the fire is still growing along the west flank near the Stein River. Despite temperatures reaching 39 degrees, a lack of wind has helped keep the flames stable. We are now heading to Koljeet Kayla here in for Johanna Wagstaffe today. Koljeet, no doubt the fire risk is going to get worse and worse given this heat. What are you watching?
It's significantly worse than it was just even yesterday, Anita. Some of these extreme temperatures have increased for parts of the Caribou. We're sitting in orange, so that's high. We're seeing more red now in parts of Dawson Creek, just north of there in Fort St. John, and Cranbrook as well in the Kootenays, and even pockets of red now for the south coast. So extreme fire danger levels and much worse than even yesterday. And with that, of course, it comes air advisories as well, and we have some information on that as well.
Concentrations tend to be slightly lower in the morning, and so if you're looking for a time to go outside and do activities like exercise, that is when it's sort of best for people to do that.
And that's Kyle Howe. He's a local air quality expert. Heat warnings, of course, continuing across much of the province for the Caribou and for the South Coast. We came very, very close to breaking a 24-year-old record today. This is how close we came. We hit 29 degrees at about 1 p.m. today. The record set back in '98 was 29.9, so extremely hot outside. What do we usually see this time of year and what actually happened today? 20 degrees is our low. Usual average temperatures are around 13.6. And for our highs, 29 degrees was our high today, 36 inland. Average seasonal temperature for this time of the year, around 22 degrees, and that's going to continue with current temperatures. Hot across the lower mainland and across the province as well. Osoyoos hit 38 degrees, 36 in Kelowna, and that's going to continue into tomorrow. I'll have more details coming up on when our next cooling down period will be. The most asked question of the day. Anita?
No kidding. I will talk to you soon, Koljeet. Okay. Thanks. 。 . 。  . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 .
。 . 。 . 。 . 。 .
. 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 .
. .
。
.
。 .
. 。 .
。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 2 people are dead after a car crash late last night near the New West Burnaby border. An attempted police traffic stop set off a chain of events that led to the deadly collision. Now 2 people could be facing criminal charges. Transit police say officers tried to pull over a white Nissan Altima just after 11 p.m. yesterday. Instead of stopping, the driver sped up, eventually hitting a black Toyota Yaris at the intersection of 10th Avenue and 6th Street. The Nissan then caught on fire. 2 people in the Toyota were seriously hurt and later died in hospital. The IIO, the independent police watchdog group, is now also investigating.
Our role is on behalf of the public to find out what the actions of the police were and determine whether or not those actions played a role in this collision, and if so, whether or not their actions were justified at law.
Meanwhile, 2 people in the Nissan have been arrested. Police are recommending multiple charges, including fleeing from police, prohibited driving, and dangerous driving causing death. Another deadly crash in Vancouver last night, killing a pedestrian. This time, impaired driving is believed to be a factor. A 78-year-old woman was killed after a 30-year-old driver hit her at the intersection of Beach Avenue and Broughton Street just before 8 p.m. Police arrested the driver, and this is the 7th pedestrian fatality so far this year in Vancouver. A few hours later in Surrey, another fatality believed to be impaired driving as well. The driver of an SUV ran into a pedestrian there just before midnight. The woman was pinned underneath the vehicle. This happened on 121A Street in Newton. The driver and passenger of the small gray SUV stayed on scene. The pedestrian, who was in her 20s, died in hospital. Surrey RCMP are appealing for witnesses and dashcam footage leading up to the crash. Well, Vancouver police are trying to find a suspect after a shocking attack on a vulnerable woman. The force says someone deliberately set her on fire, and that attack comes amid serious worry for people without homes after those deadly shootings in Langley. Dan Burrett joins us live with more. Dan, take us through what happened here.
It was around 1:30 Monday morning, Anita. That's when a woman in her 50s was sitting on a sidewalk on Dunlevy near Papal on the downtown east side when police say a white man in his 30s walked up, poured something flammable on her head, lit it, and ran off. The victim ran into business for help, and she was rushed to hospital with serious burns. People in the area are understandably shaken, especially after, as you mentioned, 2 people living on the streets of Langley were gunned down.
It'd be scary to be homeless.
I truly am in shock, in disbelief, and again, it makes me wonder, what can I do as a citizen to help?
Far too much violence against women on the downtown east side. It's been like that for a long time. Somebody needs to do something about it.
And Dan, police are also checking on another fire around that same time. What do we know about that?
Yes, another disturbing case. They say a man claimed someone set his homemade house or structure on fire while he slept in a lane near Columbia and West 5th between 12:30 and 1:30 Monday morning. He put the fire out himself and wasn't hurt, thankfully. Police are treating both fires as arson, but don't believe they're linked, at least for now. Sadly, this is not the first time someone has been set on fire. Last January, police released this video showing a man setting fire to a homeless woman near the Queen Elizabeth Theatre in mid-December 2020. The VPD says she woke up in time and wasn't seriously hurt. At that time, the force said they didn't know who she was, and she did not report the fire to police. Now, some advocates for people living on the streets say they're not surprised by the violence, saying vulnerable people are stigmatized to the point others think they can just get away with hurting them. One leader says it all comes down to housing.
This has happened in the middle of the night, right? Like, we need to build more housing in our province and in Vancouver. The encampments is a direct result of homelessness that's visibly being seen along this Hastings corridor because we don't have safe and secure housing.
Anything about Monday morning's fires or the blaze from 2020, again, is asked to contact police. Anita.
Dan Burrett live tonight. Thank you. Well, controversial Port Moody Mayor Rob Vagramov will not be seeking a second term. Vagramov was elected in 2018 at the age of 26, becoming the region's youngest mayor. But in 2019, he was accused of sexual assault from an alleged incident in 2015. The charge was later stayed after Crown Counsel and the alleged victim agreed to alternative measures. Vagramov says he's moving on because of changing priorities in life. A group of dog owners in East Vancouver are demanding more off-leash dog areas. They call Mount Pleasant East a dog park desert. The city of Vancouver recognizes the need in that neighborhood, but as Leanne Young reports, there are no plans for changes anytime soon.
Rhino spends most of his daily walks leashed up, but his dog dad wishes it didn't have to be that way.
The closest off-leash places are an hour walk away or 45-minute walk away, and I can't do that twice a day.
Hallett is among a group of dog owners in Mount Pleasant lobbying for an off-leash area at or near Dude Schilling Park.
Right now, Mount Pleasant is a dog park desert. There are no dog parks within reasonable walking distance to us.
A 15-minute walk is what the city of Vancouver aims for. The closest off-leash park areas from Mount Pleasant East are Trout Lake or Hinge Park at Olympic Village. Dog owners say it's becoming increasingly challenging to balance their pooch's needs with bylaws.
He doesn't like to be on leash all the time. Actually, just now one guy told me that the dog should be on leash.
What did you say to him?
Nothing. Yeah, I just ignore him.
So we were walking through and then the animal control came by and I put her on leash and kept walking and they kind of just like sprinted after me and tried to get my information and I just kind of walked away, basically.
Signs like these have recently sprung up at Mount Pleasant Elementary.
There's already tension in our neighborhood and we need a solution because it's an immediate problem now, and it's only going to get worse once there's more density in our neighborhood.
In 2017, the city identified Mount Pleasant as the most underserved neighborhood for an off-leash dog area. 2 new areas are in the works, but for parks west of Cambie Street, meant for residents in Kitsilano, Fairview, and only part of Mount Pleasant. In an email to CBC, the park board says it doesn't have the budget to meet demand, but hopes to address more of the issue in its capital plan next year. For dog owners like Hallett, that's little consolation.
It's been 6 years. My, dogs live to be 12 to 15, so it's literally been half of his entire life. How much longer are we gonna have to wait?
Until then, Hallett and others say they won't stop pushing for a legal place for their pups to play, leash-free. Leanne Young, CBC News, Vancouver.
A tower has been approved for downtown Kelowna that will become the city's tallest building. Councillors approved UBC Okanagan's plan for a 46-story tower, which will include a downtown campus, student housing, and retail. The originally envisioned building height for that neighborhood was 12 stories, so the 46 allowance is an exception that City Council says it doesn't anticipate making often. UBC Okanagan hopes to start construction in the fall of this year. Today marks the 69th anniversary of the Korean Armistice Agreement, when fighting during the Korean War came to an end. On Monday, vets and officials gathered at the Ambassador of Peace War Memorial in Burnaby to commemorate those who fought in the war. More than 26,000 Canadians fought alongside South Korean forces, but 516 Canadian soldiers never returned. 36 of them were from British Columbia. Their names are written on a wall of plaques in Burnaby Central Park. Well, if you're catching a flight out of YVR soon, there's a chance you won't get food or drink on the plane. Airline catering workers at the airport have issued 72-hour strike notice. Now, potential strike action could impact Air Canada, Air France, and KLM, among several other airlines. These employees prepare meals and load and unload the food and snacks you get on the planes. They say they've been overworked because of staff shortages and layoffs and are also underpaid. So far, bargaining sessions to reach a deal have not worked. Well, there's a number of ways to celebrate Pride Week in Vancouver. If you're not as much of a party animal, you can still take a stroll down to Yaletown to stop and smell the flowers. The Fleur de Vie Pride celebration commemorates LGBT history in Vancouver's West End with floral displays. You'll find flower-bombed benches and mannequins and take selfies with flower frames. Yaletown is the site of Vancouver's first lesbian bar, the Quadra, as well as another iconic gay club, the Gandhi Dancer. And tonight is the second night of the Honda Celebration of Light, and Vancouver's downtown core will once again host tens of thousands of people. In fact, I just heard the snowbirds flying above us to give all the people waiting a little bit of a nice spectacle before the fireworks start. Now, we were recently given a behind-the-scenes tour of the barge from where the fireworks are launched, so take a look.
I'm surrounded by what we call mortars or guns. The wire that you see here is connected to a firing module, which then connects by 2 wires all the way down to the end, along with the other number of modules, to the computer firing system. We use a Fire 1. So this has 32 cues on it, which means during the show, up to 32 pulses will be shot from the computer at within a thousandth of a second, depending on how you code, to light this piece of what we call quick match or fuse, which lights then this 75 mil shell. On the bottom here is a little cup. Inside that cup is a lift charge, just black powder. When that black powder goes, it lights a fuse on the bottom of this ball. And when you see just kind of a spark trail going up, but not really an effect, that's that fuse burning. When that fuse gets to the middle, it hits another pocket of black powder, which breaks it open and simultaneously lights all the stars that are packed around it. And that's the break in the sky. We lay out the shells so that they go in order, so it's easier for us to effectively and efficiently plug them into the module. And this year we've had everything set up in plenty of time. We've had great weather.
The Pope's visit to Canada has moved east to Quebec. His meeting with the Governor General coming up. Thanks for sticking with us during our commercial-free live stream. Well, more than 1,000 athletes from 70 countries will soon be in Nova Scotia for Canoe 22. It's the World Championship for the canoe sprint and para-canoe. And Colleen Jones spent time with Team Canada as they prepared for the competition.
The first thing you'll notice about Craig Spence and Brett Himmelman, they are in perfect sync. That's why a couple of months ago at a training camp, a coach thought these two need to be in the same boat.
Coach noticed that we have very similar styles, so we went out for a few workouts, and every workout we were really smooth, the boat glide was really good, and we thought we had a lot of potential, so we started training for World Cups, and that's how it happened.
I'm starting off in the sport and try to almost mimic him a little bit stylistically, which definitely helps us in the C2. But I mean, it's been a very successful season so far. We had a lot of success in World Cups. We're going to be racing the C2000 here, where we had a medal, bronze medal in Poznan in Poland.
It's been a bit of magic. That bronze in Poland, they got to the podium by 0.2 seconds. Now the chance to race in the Worlds on Lake Bannock, it's a dream.
It's pretty amazing. This is a course I grew up on paddling when I was 5 years old, so it's pretty special to race the highest level at World Championships here.
Yeah, like this is where I learned how to race. This is where I learned how to paddle. It's really cool that we finally get to race in front of our friends and family after like so many years where they wake up at 2, 3 in the morning to watch us race overseas.
When Craig took up the sport when he was 5, Brett didn't start till he was 15, when his grandfather dropped him off at the club and told him to start paddling. Anna Hetzler is on the national coaching staff. She says their knowledge of Lake Bannock will be an asset.
They know this lake really well as well. They know where the crosswind turns into a headwind and then into a tailwind, so I think this course is going to do them well.
That inside knowledge could be helpful, and with an eye on next summer's Olympic Games in Paris, a good showing here might get them there.
Right now, it's all about getting experience, getting really good races in, and being the best we can be in Paris. So every international regatta is one step closer to that goal of making the Olympics and being competitive at the Olympics.
That journey begins here on Lake Bannock, and these World Championships taking it one stroke at a time, always in perfect sync. Colleen Jones, CBC News on Lake Bannock.
At this crucial moment for Indigenous people in Canada, emotions are running high and reactions are varied. Thomas Douglas shows us how the Pope was received in Quebec today and what some are hearing in his message.
For the Pope, it's only a short drive from the airport to the heart of Quebec City. But with crowds gathering on the storied Plains of Abraham, many traveled for hours and waited generations, each coming with their own hope for what they would see and feel.
It means so much to me to actually, I guess, feel the apology instead of just hearing it.
Kenneth Gilpin was taken from his family on the Cree Nation of East Maine at age 8. Those who never returned home weigh on his mind here and always.
To be loved, it's not there. You know, that was taken away from us.
On a trip steeped in symbolism, the head of the Catholic Church was greeted by the first Indigenous Governor General, Mary Simon, drawing on her Inuit heritage to deliver this message.
Who worked, waited, and prayed for an apology on Indigenous lands in Canada. They never gave up. We must remember that it is because of their courage and resilience that we are here today.
Francis again apologized to Indigenous peoples, carefully blaming the horrors of residential schools on governments and local Catholic institutions, not the church itself.
I
express my deep shame and sorrow, and together with the bishops of this country, I renew my request for forgiveness for the wrong done by so many Christians to the Indigenous peoples.
Thank you. Merci.
Some here still hope Francis will deliver a broader apology before leaving Quebec. Like Frédéric Flamand from the Atikamekw community of Manawan. His mother survived residential school and carried the burden her whole life.
I'm coming here for my mother. The problem, it was in her heart.
With his speech shown on giant screens, Francis acknowledged the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which demanded not only he come to apologize, but that the Church and Ottawa renounce papal decrees that led to colonization. Neither the Pope nor the Prime Minister made any promise on that.
Let us continue our work together with Indigenous peoples until we reach a better future for everyone.
As Francis made his exit, he greeted crowds in his Pope-mobile, leaving some with smiles, others with expectations unfulfilled.
Now, as the Pope continues his tour of reconciliation and apology across Canada, there are those Indigenous communities still holding out for more from the Pontiff, but there are others who say words don't mean much at this point. Sophie Pierre is one of them. She's a former chief of the St. Mary's Indian Band near Cranbrook and joins me now. Sophie, what are you feeling as you watch this papal visit to Canada?
Well, first of all, I feel that, I appreciate the intent and the effort that the Pope has put into this, obviously. I mean, he's traveled to this country, as he was asked to do. He's traveled into Indigenous lands and has shared time, very valuable time with Indigenous people. But it's the whole point of the apology that has never really been all that important. As far as we're concerned, as within the Quebec Nation, we feel that an apology that had to be requested time and time again. I don't know how much meaning that actually has, but recognize that the effort's been made, the words have been said. The words are good words, and I guess now it's how those words are acted upon that will make a difference.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? What lasting changes are you hoping for from this visit?
Well, I think the Indigenous people have been fairly clear on what it is that they're looking for from the church. Just in terms of dealing with the residential school experience, sharing the information that the church records have, sharing our belongings that were taken away from us and that are either stored in Rome or in other oblate houses or Jesuit houses, that are belongings that need to come back to us as Indigenous people. Those are very important to us. And I think that really it's that sharing of records, and it's also living up to the financial responsibilities that the Catholic Church has made a commitment to. It's some of these things that have been on the books for a while. They've been on the record for quite a while, and the words that the Pontiff shared with us this week will become meaningful when the action follows those words.
Sophie Pierre is a former chief of the St. Mary's Indian Band near Cranbrook. Thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
More details about alleged sexual assaults by hockey players. Hockey Canada on the hot seat in Ottawa. That's next.
We need your help. We need your help to keep the democratic movement going.
They are not exactly the latest Robson Street fashion, but buying these T-shirts could put a permanent memorial in Vancouver to the events that shocked so many in Tiananmen Square.
We hope to raise the money to build a statue of democracy in Vancouver, to keep the democratic movement alive and keep the people unite together behind the movement.
A statue like the goddess of democracy that became the symbol of the students' revolt in China, a symbol of the free expression the students demanded. The original was smashed when the army moved in. Another one stands in Hong Kong, and depending on the fundraising, there are plans for them in major North American cities.
Support the democratic movement in China.
The group thinks it will take about $40,000 to erect a statue here. They hope to place it in Dr. Sun Yat-sen Gardens.
Thank you.
Tonight, people were willing to buy T-shirts.
I think it's great what they're doing, and I think everyone should know about it, and everyone should be supporting freedom, whether they believe in communism or, they're so-creds or they're left-wing, whatever. Freedom is for everybody.
I think every little bit counts, and I really think that the government of Canada and other countries should be doing a hell of a lot more than they're doing. There seemed to be a huge outcry after the initial riots, and then it's just fading away. You have to maintain, you have to keep the momentum going, or it'll just, people will forget, and you can't afford to forget things like that. It's still going on.
We have been kept under suppression for the last 40 years.
The T-shirts will be on sale in the 1100 block of Robson Street this weekend. Andy Orr, CBC News, Vancouver.
More details are emerging about how Hockey Canada has dealt with allegations of sexual assault by its players. Top executives of various leagues were questioned by a House of Commons committee today, the second day of the current hearings. Marina van Stackelberg reports on the testimony.
10 men, the top leaders of Hockey Canada and junior leagues,
questioned for 3 hours about their handling of sexual assault allegations under their watch.
In 2018, we should have done more and could have done more and could have done things quicker. And so I apologize for that.
The committee learned since 1989, Hockey Canada has used a national equity fund to settle 9 sexual assault cases to a tune of $7.6 million.
And that fund is generated by kids' registration fees, correct?
Among other things, we have insurance from investments as well.
That doesn't include the nearly $300,000 Hockey Canada paid this high-profile lawyer to investigate allegations 4 years ago that were only made public this spring. A woman says she was sexually assaulted by 8 hockey players, including some members of that year's World Junior team. She was seeking $3.5 million. That lawsuit also settled with the same equity fund.
We haven't used money to protect our image. We've used money to respond and support victims.
Hockey Canada officials did not tell some of the players accused of sexual assault about the lawsuit until after they settled it for them.
You had a claim and you settled it within 3 weeks or 4 weeks of the date you received the claim. That is highly unusual.
The committee is scratching the surface of sexual assault allegations within the sport. In the last 5 years, the Quebec Junior Hockey League and the Western Junior Hockey League had 2 incidents of sexual assault each. The players suspended. What happened, not reported to Hockey Canada. The table of leaders again questioned if they're in a position to make change within their organizations.
Will you step down for new leadership to take over?
I'm prepared to take on this responsibility.
Hockey leadership was also asked why it hasn't done more to keep track of players accused of sexual misconduct. The committee heard that the entire 2018 World Junior team went on to sign contracts with the NHL the next year. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
The World Health Organization has declared the spread of monkeypox an international emergency. More than 18,000 cases have been confirmed in more than 70 countries. And as the CBC's Lauren Pelly reports, the vast majority of those cases are men.
The growing global outbreak of monkeypox is still overwhelmingly impacting men who have sex with men. Recent research published in the New England Journal of Medicine looked at worldwide infections between April and June. The team found 98% of those infected were gay or bisexual men. In 95% of those cases, the virus likely spread through sexual activity.
It's just the way in which we are seeing most of the transmission at this time.
One of the authors behind the study says symptoms can include lesions or more subtle warning signs.
We have had a number of cases present with a sore throat or with rectal pain.
Today, a request from officials in Canada and beyond.
The Public Health Agency of Canada recommends practicing safer sex.
For men who have sex with men, this includes, for the moment, reducing your number of sexual partners, reconsidering sex with new partners, and exchanging contact details.
It's a message that's raising eyebrows among members of Canada's gay and bisexual communities as advocacy work is underway and eligible men are trying to access a limited supply of vaccines.
Just want to be precautious and not get it. It's a horrible thing to get. It's painful.
We definitely need to see a greater emphasis on providing supports for people who are getting monkeypox. And that can include everything from income and housing supports.
That should be the focus, says this advocate, since isolation periods can last for weeks.
I think what's not helpful is where public health is pushing these messages that are not recognizing the efforts and initiative taken by the community for prevention.
This virus can infect anyone. The concern now is what happens if it's not contained, spreading monkeypox into more countries and more communities. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
At least 5 people have been killed and dozens hurt in the Philippines after a powerful 7.0 magnitude earthquake. You can see here this newly released drone footage, just how extensive the damage is to the north of Manila. Buildings destroyed, cars crushed by debris. People there are also dealing with another danger as more than 200 landslides have been recorded since the earthquake hit. To the U.S. now, the Biden administration has proposed a prisoner swap with Russia, one that could see detained WNBA star Brittney Griner released, along with Paul Whelan, a Canadian who also has a U.S. passport. He's imprisoned in Russia on espionage charges. Meanwhile, Griner made yet another appearance in a Russian court today, testifying about her treatment after her arrest back in February.
The American basketball star spoke of her 13-hour journey from the United States to Russia while recovering from COVID-19. She was heading to the country to play in the WNBA offseason. And when she was detained at a Moscow airport for being in possession of cannabis oil, she says she was not read her rights. Griner also explained she was given documents to sign without a lawyer present, and there were hours of proceedings that she did not understand. Crisis management consultant Jonathan Frank says her detention is unwarranted.
This is one of the most audacious hostage takings in modern history, right? And she was not going to Russia as a tourist, right? She was an invited guest. And to target her like this means that no one is safe going to Russia.
Griner has already pleaded guilty to bringing hash oil into Russia. Her lawyers say she packed quickly and simply made a mistake, that she did not intend to break the law. They also said she had the oil for medical purposes, not recreational ones. Dmitry Sidorov is a lawyer in Moscow and says that it makes no difference in the court of law.
It absolutely doesn't matter because we have got a list of drugs that's settled by the government of Russian Federation that prohibited.
Griner was detained just days before the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine. Washington says what's happened to her is unlawful and it's working to secure her release. Moscow says it will not speak about a possible prisoner exchange until the trial is over. It is unclear when that might be, but if Griner is found guilty, she faces up to 10 years in prison. Abby Kwodasin, CBC News, London.
Russian-backed forces say they've captured Ukraine's second-largest power plant, a facility in the eastern Donbas region. Now, they've posted video claiming to show them in control. Ukrainian officials have not confirmed the claim. On the southern front, Ukrainian rockets hit a bridge in what's now Russian-controlled territory. Russian officials are criticizing the counteroffensive in the region, saying it threatens the current grain harvest. They say the bridge's loss will not affect any military outcome. Well, it's a first for Canada with an official look at how psychedelics can treat depression. The study and how it will work is next. And at 6:42, you're looking at a live shot from our station tonight at Science World. Boy, is it hot and still a lot more heat to come. So are you going to see any relief? Well, Kuljit Kayla will be back with that answer after the break.
In the year 2050, how will BC look? From agriculture to cities, how will climate change life? Don't miss 2050, Degrees of Change, a CBC Vancouver original podcast, now available.
Well, here's proof that good things come in small packages. A 6-year-old girl in the United Arab Emirates got her first skateboard 2 years ago and has already won some competitions. Take a look.
My dream is to become a pro skater.
Little Zara has been training every day, and she learns new tricks through watching YouTube videos. She says she likes to win because it makes her, quote, happy, brave, and smart. Her parents have been documenting her journey on Instagram, and the account already has more than 29,000 followers. Now, skateboarding has grown in popularity in the UAE in recent years, especially during the pandemic. Kayla is here for Johanna Wagstaffe. And I got to talk that skateboarding girl. I could not even probably move an inch on a skateboard. So to see that is incredible.
I know. I was going to ask you, did you as a kid skateboard? But I guess not. I wouldn't get a step down the road. I'd fall too.
Yeah.
She's amazing, and the cutest little outfit as well, just to say. Heat warning continues for us here in the Lower Mainland. We did almost come very close to breaking a record from 1989. We hit 29 degrees at around 1 p.m. this afternoon, not too far off from this record, 29.9 degrees that we hit back in 89, about 24 years ago. Heat warning continues for most of British Columbia, including the Cariboo. It even extends in parts of Alberta for Edmonton and Calgary, but we here in the Lower Mainland are the hot spot for the entire country. If we take a look at temperatures across the nation right now, we're sitting at 36 degrees in Kelowna, 27 in Vancouver, Edmonton hit 28, 27 in Calgary, Winnipeg a cool 16 degrees, not too hot there, same as Thunder Bay, and over in Montreal, 24 degrees there, 21 in Ottawa, 23 in Toronto, and on the East Coast, St. John's, 16 degrees, 17 in Charlottetown, and 21 in Halifax. So that's how hot it is here for us in BC. What's happening next? Let's take a look at temperatures coming in for tomorrow. 29 degrees in Fort St. John, increasing tomorrow. Most of the temperatures for tomorrow in most of the regions in BC will see their hottest day tomorrow, including here in the Lower Mainland. Through Friday and Saturday, temperatures do slightly drop a little bit, but they are going to be holding steady in about 26, 27 degrees, and things will start to cool off at the end of the weekend, and we'll have more details coming up on that. We do have some notes that you want to make to get you through the next few days. It's going to be extremely hot and humid as well. Very high UV index, 42 degrees, our inland high temperature for tomorrow. Again, it's going to be the hottest day of the weekend. It's going to be pretty warm overnight as well. Taking a look at our extended forecast, the sunshine continues hot tomorrow, sunshine all the way through the weekend. It is on Monday that we start to see some cooling conditions and even some rain for Tuesday with 60% rain. And these are seasonal temperatures that we'll finally get to see early next week. Anita?
Looking good. Not bad. Thanks, Kuljit. Toronto's Centre for Addiction and Mental Health has received the first ever federal grant to study magic mushrooms as a treatment for depression. As Kelda Ewan reports, the study will explore whether psilocybin can help alleviate symptoms in those with treatment-resistant depression without the psychedelic effects.
My experience with depression started about 12 years ago, and I've tried all 5 classes of antidepressants over the past 11 years.
For Carol Dagger, nothing worked. She even tried electric convulsion therapy, but had to stop because it was too hard. Then, last August,
I started looking at ketamine through the assistance of Dr. Hussain and CAMH. It really is like your brain is a puzzle before you start the session. As you go through the session, the puzzle is being completely torn apart in a very quick way.
After a few sessions, her symptoms finally started to alleviate. CAMH is now hoping another psychedelic, psilocybin mushrooms, will also be an effective treatment for depression.
It's hugely important that, first and foremost, that we are studying new treatments for mental illnesses and common mental illnesses like depression, because there's a large group of the population that don't get better with the treatments we currently have.
Dr. Ishrat Hussain is leading the study that will explore whether the antidepressant components of psilocybin mushrooms can be separated from its psychedelic effects.
Can we harness the antidepressant effects of psilocybin without that very intense psychedelic experience? We really need to understand, are these treatments safe? Are they effective? How do they work? How can we scale them up if they do work and are safe?
The 3-year study will include 60 adults who have been living with treatment-resistant depression for at least 3 years. A third of those participants will get a full dose of psilocybin plus a blocker that will stop the drug's psychedelic effects. Another 20 participants will get psilocybin and a placebo, while the third group will be given a placebo and the blocker. For Dagger, knowing psilocybin mushrooms may be available as a treatment option in the future gives her hope.
Psychedelics are the new frontier and a new lifeline for people like me. The fact that there is psilocybin on the horizon gives me that hope that I could still fight because there is another tool in my toolkit coming down the pipeline.
Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Told he had just 48 hours to live. He had one final wish: to marry his longtime girlfriend. The emotional rush to the altar is next.
So Jacob Boy is a lobster boat that we've turned into a cabin cruiser. It's a lobster boat that originated in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. It was in later years brought to Alma by fishermen, bought and operated by fishermen here in Alma. And it retired probably a year and a half ago. So we grabbed onto it, and we were looking for a unique accommodation that would accommodate children, a pet, and a family. So you'll see out back here, this is our setting area for the campfires, for the s'mores. And we're gonna step into our deck here with the hot tub setting out here for you to enjoy. And then one step up onto the back deck, and this is your outside dining area with the picnic table. Couple places for people to sit. And we're going to enter into the hallway. On our left, we have the full bathroom, and on our right-hand side, we have the bedroom for the parents or adults or the head crewmates or whatever. And then we're going to come into the original wheelhouse, and on the left-hand side we have our kitchenette, and on our right-hand side we have our dining area with the original helm and gear shift for the kids to play on. That's all original, it is. You can go down into the cuddy where our little guys are going to stay. So these are our 4 bunks here. They come with their camp mattresses, and then we have a sitting area over here for the kids to play at, eat at, and then we have a couple little fishing games for going fishing for the kids to have a game when they're here. The last registration is here on the wall. So it tells that it was built in 1988, where it was fiberglass, the name of the company, July 21st of 1988.
So it's buried to the water line. That's where it would set in the water, floating as grade of the ground is to that level.
How much work was it to get it done?
It's a lot.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
On August 19th, join Anita Bathe at a panel discussion with the filmmakers of Emergence, Out of the Shadows, at the Vancouver Queer Film Festival. Get tickets to the film screening at queerfilmfestival.ca. And during Pride, we are celebrating the amazing people across the province that make the community beautiful, diverse, and unique. Read about these outstanding individuals at cbc.ca/proudtoshine.
Well, earlier this summer, a 35-year-old resident of Nova Scotia got the worst news anyone could receive. In the face of terminal cancer, he wasted no time making one of life's biggest decisions. It was a decision that set his community abuzz and did not leave a dry eye on anyone's cheeks.
And I can't explain it, but I feel more loved, like I love him more every minute that he's gone. And we fished together, we worked together, we lived together, we loved each other. And this time the cancer was too much this time. They told us 2 days before the wedding, so about on the 14th of July, that he had 48 hours left to live. And we didn't believe it. And 48 hours later, we got married. And I said, Billy, I said, are you sure you want to go through with this? And he turned around, he looked to me, and he said, are you getting cold feet? And he said, are you backing out? And I said, no. I said, I know you're tired. And he said, I better see you down there. And I put his clothes on him, and I ran down and jumped in my dress. And I went down, and there was 2 chairs, and Billy was sitting in it. And we got married, and there was so many people that showed up. The roads was blocked off with vehicles. There were people from every ball team to people he's just known over the years. And the moment the wedding was over, he looked at everyone and he said, I hope y'all know I'm going trout fishing at 4:30. And I celebrated with the wedding crowd on behalf of him, and I let him go fishing for the last time. And he literally, he lived 4 more days, and then we lost him. He had the most willpower, and he was just the most honest person I've ever known. Everybody showed up that day, and it was the best day of my life.
I was warned that one was going to be a tearjerker, and it sure is. I am so glad, though, he got his last wish in the most beautiful way. Congratulations. And with that is the end of our show. Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.